obviously I'm typically rather critical of non-Nintendo games on this channel. It's kind of my thing. I'm kind of well known for it. But there is something that's it's always been kind of obvious to me that I haven't really talked about a lot. That hasn't really come up very much. That maybe I've talked about this on streams or made independent statements about this, but never an actual video. And I think because I've never actually taken the time to play through the game again all the way through, so my feelings on it are kind of mixed, but there's no denying that I have been coming back over and over and over again to play Doom 2016, right? Out of all the games that have come out in the past 10 years, the stuff that was hyped up, The Last of Us, the Uncharted games, Returnal, uh, like all that kind of stuff, God of War reboot, Dad of War, Soy of War, right? Like all of that stuff. Like there was a bunch of games that the industry tried to push as being like these genre-defining masterpieces that were like legitimately the best games ever made, right? I think out of all of those like non-Nintendo games, like the best one that I can think of out of that like batch, obviously there are plenty of Nintendo games that are better than this. But the out of that like non-Nintendo batch of games that like a lot of people really liked and really enjoyed and like did fairly well was Doom 2016, right? I don't think there's any denying that Doom 2016 at the very least is fun to just mess around in and just run around shooting demons, right? In a lot of ways it feels a lot like Resident Evil 4 where like the general mechanics and structure and gameplay is just so fun. You can just replay the game over and over again and never really get bored of it. Like it's the same exact like kind of mindset, right? And although I think Resident Evil 4 is a way better game for a lot of reasons, like it actually has variety in its level design and its mechanics and stuff like that, and the things you're expected to do. Like Doom 2016 does, at the very least, have some a little bit of a backbone. It actually has content. It actually is a video game, right? And that's more than I can say for like the vast majority of games that were coming out around that period, right? Doom actually tried innovating this classic gaming IP in a way that like nobody really thought possible. It is basically a new Doom game. It is a reboot. It completely does away with the typical Western video game like garbage schlock of just having this like story first. No, like, no, you're on Mars, you're a dude fighting demons, and that's all you really need to know, right? Like that's all you get. Like rip and tear until it's done. Like it is. It works. It works for what it is, right? Yeah, is it the greatest game ever? No. Is it the best game released that year? No. But it's still fun for what it is, right? Like I have never regretted picking up Doom, right? Like I would argue that like yeah, maybe it's like maybe it was overrated, maybe people like hype the game too much, maybe some people are too obsessed with Doom. Like the success of Doom 2016 kind of led people to hyping up Doom Eternal, which from my recollection isn't very good at all. Like there were a lot of people you know, like there were a lot of things wrong with Doom 2016. Like I've seen people like say it's one of the best games of that decade, which is a lot of crap. Like, but like the game is still fun, right? Like let's not mince words here. Let's not like try and pretend otherwise. Like Doom 2016 is actually pretty solid for what it is, right? Like I enjoy it way more than something like Destiny or Halo or like any of that other schlock that came out around that time. Like it is actually a fairly fun video game, right? Like and I've been streaming it a little bit and I'm fairly far in now. Well, like I got a couple of levels in and I really enjoy it. Like it was one of the games I played the most during my stream session tonight. So it's it's uh it's an interesting game, right? And I do think people really need to start acknowledging this more, right? Like what does Doom do that other games aren't doing. And what it comes down to is that like Doom actually tried to be a video game, right? It actually tried coming up with like interesting level designs, level layouts. Like it has enemy AI that can do a lot of stuff in a lot of different situations, right? It has a lot of interesting monsters to fight. It has this really cool sense of progression. It has like a really cool gameplay loop. It has like a lot of really cool weapons that you can utilize. It has like some really smooth animations. Like the game is fast, you know? The game is intense. It's action packed. Like you have so much going on. Like you have so much variety you can do with like your weapon loadouts and like your upgrades and like so many secrets you can find by going off the beaten path and exploring. Like there's so much you can do, right? Like the game just is an actual video game, right? Like when you can put it like up there next to The Last of Us, right? The stereotypical Western walking simulator, right? When you put it up next to that and see how much of it is just like Joel and Ellie walking down a hallway, talking about their feelings and trying to establish that like the setting is bleak and it's dark and that like ooh, there's so much going on, guys. This is this is the greatest story ever told in games. Meanwhile, in Doom, like you have Doom guy like actually fixing problems. Like Doom, weirdly enough, I know this game doesn't get a lot of credit for this, but it does have way better writing and storytelling than most modern games, right? Like I don't think most people like pick up on this, like how Doom Guy is not having any of like Dr. Samuel Hayden's nonsense at all in regards to like the Mars project and wanting to utilize Hell's energy for like to solve like global energy crisis or whatever. Like Doom Guy just wants to stop the demons, right? So like by any means necessary. Like Hayden, like Dr. Samuel Hayden, like he tries to tell you like, "Oh, don't destroy the filters, just shut it off carefully," and then like you just destroy it, right? Like you don't need dialogue, you don't need exposition, you don't need like some big like flashback sequence like that says more about Doom Guy's character than like anything we ever saw from like The Last of Us Part 2 and like the Joel and Ellie thing, right? Like it's just a legitimately cool character decision, right? It to go against that like the grain, like go against your instructions from an authority figure, right? It's like the anti BioShock, right? Like, ooh, would you kindly, yeah, would you kindly take this filter and just destroy it for me? Like, it's just it's just like amazing. It's just kind of amazing to see that, and I feel like most people don't notice this. Most people don't notice how much Doom 2016 just kind of bucks like most modern Western video game trends, right? In a lot of ways, it surpasses all of them. It reminds me a lot of how I felt about like Mortal Kombat 9 when that first came out, where that actually felt like wow, this actually does have a ton of content, single player content for a fighting game. It actually does have all the characters I want. It actually does look and play great. It actually does have an in-depth story mode. It has all this stuff that like some other fighting games simply aren't doing right now, and it's one of my favorite fighting games ever because of that. And Doom 2016 has a lot of the same energy. Like I'm not nearly as fond of it as I am that game, but like there's no denying I've been coming back and playing it quite a lot over the past couple of years.